For over 6 decades, I've analyzed the greatest players in the history of the NBA. Yet, when it comes to the current era, one name stands above the rest. Stephen Curry, his influence stretches far beyond the three-point line. He has redefined the game itself. Statistically, strategically, and culturally, there's no denying that Stephen Curry is the best player in the NBA today. He's not just a shooter or a leader, he's a revolution in motion. As Stephen A. Smith famously said, Steph Curry has changed the game in ways no one ever thought possible. This isn't just opinion, it's fact. The NBA today revolves around his style of play, and that cements his place as the greatest of this generation.
We talk Stephen Curry, that's an impact on game in terms of playing style, three-pointers being shot. He's the greatest shooter of all time. He and Iverson are guys who are 6 foot, 6'2", if we're being generous. They're very obtainable to the eye. People look at those guys and say, man, I think I could do that. I think I could be that. If they could do it, I can do it. When you look at LeBron James and you look at Michael, these guys are 6'6", 6'7", freak of nature athletes, although Iverson was a freak athlete within himself, so I'm doing him a disservice there. But still, these guys, from a height standpoint, I think people saw that they could, do these things. I mean, Stephen A., I think you'd probably have to agree with me. I know you're a Michael guy. But him and Kobe, for me, are guys who are left out. Specifically Kobe, people always leave him out the mix. We always jump to AI because of his culture and him wearing the clothes he wears. And now we see Shea and Westbrook and all these guys do that. By the way, Adam Silver's name should be thrown in there because if David Stern, God bless his soul, was still around, we'd probably be still wearing suits to the game. I'm not even kidding. So there's a lot that goes to why we're at where we're at now. A lot of names in that hat. But playing style, culture are two different things. Iverson's more of a culture icon. Stephen Curry changed the way teams play. It's a copycat league. First, there was no room for bigs. Now suddenly we're seeing bigs. I watched the game the other night. I think it was the Cavs versus the Bulls. There was 4 centers on the court. So, now that the Nuggets are winning, now we're seeing teams put an emphasis on getting centers again. It's always going to be a copycat league, up and down. We were in an era where people were shooting too many threes. We got too many guys thinking they're Stephen Curry and they're not. There's only one of those. He's definitely had an impact on the game. He's definitely up there on that list. I like LeBron throwing Steph on that list, but leaving Jordan out and Kobe out for me doesn't make a lot of sense. Those two guys have to be in the mix.
Go ahead, Monica.
I like the way you broke that down, Austin, because I actually hadn't thought about it like that. And to me, I didn't necessarily go straight player, but I went three-point shooting, which is obviously correlated to Steph Curry in the way that he's impacted the game. The cultural impact versus the impact of the game conversation is very, very layered. I hadn't really gone there. But anyway, I'm just going to continue to roll with Steph on this one because of the three-point shooting. I think the way that he has forced teams to look for defenders that can guard multiple positions. To me, he is kind of encapsulating, I don't want to say position-less because I don't 100% believe that, but the idea that players need to have a variety of skill sets so that they can be interchangeable pieces, so to speak. Because as much as Stephen Curry technically is a point guard, many of us see him as a scorer before you see him as the traditional pass-first point guard. And so I think, to me, Steph's influence, whether you talk about specifically shooting or the interchangeability and the nature of the game being able to be played in the two-man game, guys being able to score at different positions at all 3 levels, I got to give a lot of credit in this conversation to Steph.
Well, listen, I agree with you, Eminem, and the breakdown that Austin gave was right on point, no doubt about that. And by the way, anybody that knows basketball is a Jordan guy, personally. Let's get that out the way right now. Anybody that knows basketball is a Jordan guy, okay? Just go back and watch the tape, all right? But in the end, what it comes down to is this. To answer the question directly, biggest influence on NBA today is Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it.
Yes.
And you're right about Allen Iverson and the culture part. But we're talking about today. And when we see, it's one thing when you can point to little kids in the streets and what they're trying to do in terms of shooting the three and all of this other stuff. No, you don't even have to go there. All you have to do is go to the NBA. Look at you've never seen people jack up threes now. Jack up threes before the way they're jacking up threes now. All right? Now, one could easily argue, and Austin, you'll appreciate this, along with you, Eminem. I could give credit to Mike D'Antoni,
that's what I was thinking.
And Steve Nash.
Yes.
Because obviously, you know what, 7 seconds or less, push the ball up the floor, jack up some shots, get it to the hole, or shoot the three. Don't shoot the mid-range. I don't care about the mid-range. You understand what I'm saying? I've seen this man. Listen, I know of players who literally committed a turnover and they challenged a layup on the opposite end and fouled the dude, and Mike D'Antoni summoned them over and were like this, hey, we don't do that here. We don't do that. Let them score. It quickens the pace. This is what he said. Okay, so this is what we're talking about, right? So you got to give them credit where credit is due. But nevertheless, we ain't never seen people as reliant on long-range bombs the way that they are now because of Steph Curry. And that's on every level. And so when you look at it from that perspective, there's no question that the biggest influence on today's NBA game is definitely Steph Curry.
To understand Curry's influence, you have to recognize the seismic shift in the NBA since his rise to prominence. Before his VEP season in 2014 to 2015, NBA teams were attempting an average of 21.5 three-pointers per game. Today, that number has skyrocketed to an average of 35 three-point attempts per game. It's not a coincidence, it's the Curry effect. Every player, from stars to role players, believes they can be Steph. We see it in high schools, colleges, and even pickup games. Everybody wants to shoot from deep. Stephen O once mentioned that Curry's shooting isn't just about skill, it's about changing the perception of what's possible on the court. He didn't merely push the boundaries of long-range shooting, he erased them. Just last night, watching the Celtics game, Pierce highlighted how the first 10 shots were threes. Players believe they can be Curry, and that's a testament to his transformative impact on the game. From rivals like Paul Pierce to icons like LeBron James, everyone acknowledges Steph's influence. LeBron even said that when kids watch the game today, the two names they want to emulate are Allen Iverson and Stephen Curry. His reach is deeper than we realize. And as we progress, I'll show you why Curry's dominance isn't just statistical, it's cultural. In the decade of the 2010s, Stephen Curry wasn't just shooting threes, he was redefining how they were taken. For 5 consecutive seasons, Curry led the NBA in three-point shots made, driving the Golden State Warriors to 3 NBA championships. But it's not just about volume. His accuracy is unparalleled. Kirk Goldsberry, one of the most respected statisticians in the NBA, revealed that since 2020, Curry has led the league in jump shots attempted per game. And more importantly, points per shot on jumpers. That kind of consistency is unheard of, and no other player comes close. Miami's Duncan Robinson, a recognized sharpshooter, trails behind Curry in volume, while Kevin Durant's impressive shooting still pales in comparison to the sheer impact Curry has on any given night. These aren't just impressive numbers, they are a statistical testament to Curry's dominance over the league. His jump shots are lethal from anywhere on the court, making him the most dangerous offensive player of his generation. As analysts like Stephen often say, it's not just that Curry hits threes, it changes the way defenses approach the game. What's even more astounding is that Curry isn't slowing down. Even after turning 30, he's still the best shooter in the game, and the numbers back that up year after year. And here's where things get emotional, because stats are great, but they don't tell the full story. Curry isn't just the best shooter, he's dominating the game in every way imaginable. When you talk about greatness, championships inevitably come up. Jordan has 6, LeBron has 4. But Curry's influence on the Warriors dynasty of the 2010s cements his legacy as a winner. 3 championships in 5 years is no small feat. But what's more impressive is how those championships were won. Take a moment to remember the 2015 to 2016 season. The Warriors went 7-3-9, the best record in NBA history. Though they fell short in the finals that year, it set the stage for the most dominant run we've seen since Jordan's Bulls, and Curry was at the heart of it all. His leadership, his shooting, his ability to elevate his teammates. In the words of Stephen A, there's something special about Steph. He makes everyone around him better. This isn't just a commentary on his assist numbers. It's a reflection of his impact as a leader. Look at players like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Both were already talented, but under Curry's guidance, they reached levels of play that propelled them to become champions. And let's not forget his Olympic gold medal in Paris 2024, where Curry once again showcased his dominance. In the final against France, he scored 24 points and made 8 threes, including the dagger in the final minutes. The energy, the swagger. Curry once again demonstrated that when the lights are brightest, he shines the most. There's always the debate, LeBron or Jordan or LeBron. But the truth is, in terms of influence, neither can touch what Stephen Curry has done to the game. Yes, Jordan made basketball global, and LeBron's sheer dominance is unparalleled, but Curry changed how the game is played at its core. Look at the numbers. Since Curry's ascent, the three-point shot has become the most valuable weapon in basketball. Teams have adapted to a style of play that revolves around long-range shooting. LeBron may be a physical marvel, and Jordan may have had the killer instinct, but Curry changed the very fundamentals of basketball strategy. And let's not ignore the cultural shift. Steph's popularity transcends borders. He's not just a superstar, he's an icon. From sneaker deals to global endorsements, his reach is everywhere. LeBron and Jordan may have built empires, but Curry's influence on the youth, the next generation of players, is unprecedented. As Stephen has succinctly put it, when you talk about influence, Steph changed the way the game is played, period. In conclusion, Stephen Curry isn't just one of the greatest players of all time. He is the greatest player of this era, the most influential figure the game has seen since its inception. His ability to dominate from beyond the arc, lead his team to championships, and redefine how basketball is played makes him the most influential NBA player today. As I mentioned earlier, this is more than just about stats or accolades. This is about a player who single-handedly shifted the landscape of the NBA. Stephen A. Smith hit the nail on the head when he said, "We will never see another player like Steph Curry." So when the conversation comes up about the greatest, remember Steph Curry is not just a shooter. He is the heart and soul of modern basketball, a true champion and the most impactful player of our time. And as we look to the future, one thing is clear: Steph isn't done yet.